Jewish mother about to give birth, and thank God that in the gloom of the darkened room, neither the stormtroopers nor the Gestapo officer had realized that Martin was blind. For the moment, her 2 men were safe, but not, she knew, for long. What should they do? Her brain seemed numb, and she had to force herself to think. If they stayed put, the Gestapo would almost certainly be back, looking for Franz, and checking to be sure she and her children had left the apartment. But if they went now, they would be out on the streets where a frenzied mob was still chanting, still setting fires, smashing windows and beating up anyone fool enough to protest.
"Mutti,"
whispered Lisa.
"Where's Papa?"
"I don't know, Lisa," replied her mother. It was the truth. Franz could be anywhere, just not, she prayed, in the clutches of the mob outside. "What are we going to do, Mother?" asked Martin quietly.
"I'm going to pack a case now, before they come back looking for us. Then if they do, we can simply walk out into the street, and we shall have some things to keep us going."
"It's not safe to stay here," Martin said.
"It's not safe out on the streets either," replied his mother.
"We're not safe anywhere, but for the moment, I think it's better to stay here. If they see us walking through the dark, carrying a case, they'll simply grab it and beat us up. For the moment, it sounds as if they've moved on." She went cautiously to the window, and keeping well behind the curtain, peered out into the grey of dawn. There were a few shadows moving about in the street below, dark silhouettes against the red-orange glow of fire, blazing through the synagogue at the end of the street and the rabbi's house beyond. The sky itself seemed on fire, and Marta wondered why their home had been spared. Probably because a good German family would like to live in it. For whatever reason, she decided, it might give them shelter for another hour or 2 yet. To venture out into the street now with 2 children, one of them blind, would be suicidal, Marta realized. But they should prepare for flight. Lisa watched as her mother pulled out the biggest case they had and began to fill it with some clothes for each of them. In the pocket of a skirt, she slipped the pearl necklace Lisa knew Papa had given her on their wedding day, and a ring that had been her grandmother's. "Fetch the flour jar," Mutti said, and when Lisa brought it to her, she plunged her hand into the flour and pulled out the roll of Reichmarks that had been hidden there. "Put these in your knickers," she said to a startled Lisa, and turned her attention back to the suitcase. Outside, the chanting and the sound of smashing glass continued, but further off. The crowd was turning its attention elsewhere. Martin sat on a chair, his head in his hands, listening. He could see nothing, and his blindness made him even more frightened. The room had been turned over, and he no longer knew where the furniture was. If he moved, he knew he'd fall over. "Where shall we go, Mother?" he asked.
"To Aunt Trudy's," replied Marta firmly, though she really had no idea where. "I'm sure Papa will come and find us there if—" She hesitated, biting back the words, "if they haven't caught him," and saying instead, "if he can." The 3 of them spent the early hours sitting, waiting. Gradually the children nodded off into uneasy sleep, but Marta remained wide awake. There was no point in her trying to sleep. Indeed, Marta knew it would be foolish. She needed to be alert in case the Gestapo man returned. Outside, she could still hear shouts, and as daylight filled the sky, she went once again to the window to look out. What she saw made her gasp. Was this really the street in which she lived? It was strewn with glass, the wood of smashed doors and broken furniture. The windows of the 2 houses opposite gaped back at her, a few jagged shards still clinging to the frames. The front door of one lay flat on the ground. That of the other hung crazily from one hinge. The houses on either side seemed undamaged.